This is a phone unlike you've ever seen before, a top-tier Snapdragon 845 in a device that can be had for barely €300, £270 in the UK, or even less in some markets. What is going on here? This is the Poco phone F1, and it doesn't really fall into any existing category of smartphone. To call it a budget device wouldn't be doing its power any justice, and to call it a flagship would be unfair considering how affordable it is. So to address the elephant in the room, the F1 is fast. With the Snapdragon 845, a liquid cooling system, and 6 or 8 GB of RAM, it has the fluidity of the Galaxy S9 or the P20 Pro. As this is an 8 series chip, you also get maximum graphics performance. So with games like PUBG and Darkness Rises creating this new need for power, even the base model of the F1 will be able to push those games on maximum settings smoothly. This amount of power has never been seen before at €300. To give you context, it competes mainly with smartphones powered by the Snapdragon 660 or lower, which are, according to Antutu, half as capable. You're actually getting even more bang for your buck than the OnePlus 6 when it comes to performance. The selfie camera is amazing. With good lighting you get depth of field, good dynamic range, and exceptional detail, but even when the light levels fall, it holds up well. The rear dual camera is impressive too, with a portrait mode that comes close to high-end rivals. AI is hard at work here, and in most daylight scenarios, shots look every bit as good as those from the Galaxy Note 9. Colors are well represented, and you can zoom into these photos. You've also got clean-looking 1080p slow-motion video, but it is a shame that 4K video doesn't hold up as well. It's not bad, but definitely on the shaky side, and colors have this weird bloom to them, which makes the whole image look a little noisy. You also get a 4000 mAh battery, and even next to the Galaxy Note 9, which already has a really impressive battery life, this guy over here managed to pull about an extra half an hour of heavy usage. This is combined with 18-watt fast charging, which means you can fully recharge the phone in just over an hour and a half, which is pretty good given the large battery capacity. The general build of the phone is fine, it's good enough. The body is made from polycarbonate, has a little bit of give, and lacks that slick, cold to the touch metal feel that even many of Xiaomi's cheaper devices have. Their logic is that if you're gonna be using a case anyway, then having these materials not only saves on cost, but also keeps the phone from getting too heavy. It doesn't feel bad, it's still comfortable to hold, not to mention the indented display means that the screen doesn't feel like it's adding to the thickness. There is some minor table wobble due to the curved nature of the phone, but it's far from the worst I've seen. You might have noticed that the version I've got over here is a little bit different. This is the Armored Edition, which basically places a layer of real Kevlar on top of that polycarbonate, but more than likely you'll feel it as an aesthetic upgrade more than anything else. Okay, the display isn't exactly a high point. It's a 6.2-inch Full HD Plus notched LCD. The good news is that you can tweak the colors yourselves, but even with the increased contrast mode on, it's still lacking versus an OLED. But again, it is good enough. From the front, it kind of looks a little bit like a low-budget iPhone X. The side bezels and the notch are almost identical, but you've got a slightly thicker top bezel and noticeably thicker bottom bezel. Obviously not a fair comparison, but it should give you an idea of how the F1 feels to use. While this is a device focused on pure performance, and you don't get wireless charging and you don't get water resistance, you do benefit from the inclusion of a micro SD card, which is unusual from Xiaomi, and a headphone jack. As well as the immense value here, this phone is also exciting because it's your first look at the Poco launcher. It's reminiscent of Android Pie, but with a bouncy, colourful feel, even if this is still Android 8.1. Mind you, that isn't the latest version, but at the same time, it's much easier to forgive a device that costs €300 compared to one that costs $1,000. I've got to say, I prefer the aesthetic here to MIUI, and this launcher is also packed with lots of forward-thinking ideas, like being able to sort your apps based on colour, being able to use third-party icon packs, and the option to create a second space, kind of like a second desktop for Windows, which you can lock using a password or a fingerprint. Full gesture control is here too, and works just as well as with the flagship Mix 2S. I prefer it to the navigation bar. One thing you might not have heard about before is an infrared facial scanner, and the F1 actually has one over here on the front to be used when unlocking your phone with your face. It is blazing fast. Accuracy was good too in all sorts of lighting, and it even knows when you've got your eyes closed and won't unlock till you open them. This fingerprint scanner feels fantastic, and you can tell the company has put a real effort into making sure it is differentiated from the rest of the back, and it's low down enough that your finger finds it naturally. So, should you buy it? Is this strangely titled smartphone all of a sudden the must-buy device? Well, for anyone whose budget is around the 300 to 400 euro mark, the answer is a resounding, unambiguous yes. When I played around with Xiaomi's Mi A2 last month, I was taken aback at the value. A fast phone with a great camera for the price. The Pocophone F1 is straight up better. If you don't mind the notch and the polycarbonate build, it is pretty much all here. From the cameras to the performance, software to the battery, this device is decked out like a flagship, and it is a pleasure to use. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, and if you're new around here, it would mean a lot if you could smash that subscribe button down below. My name is Aaron, this is Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'll catch you guys next time.